Think about customers. What is it that when we think about customers, the first thing to take into consideration is what is it that they value? What is it that they like about you? And value is the worth of something. And so if we want to promote or market something to someone, we have to know what it's worth to them. And so typically if your product isn't selling or something's not working right, this is the first question you always ask. What is the value proposition? Because if it doesn't have value, nobody wants it. And so these are the topics we'll be covering in this lecture. And so what it comes down to is that people value three things. Now, this is the foundation of what this course is about. It's about understanding concepts. You're never going to remember 20 things, but you can remember three different concepts. And the concepts of what we value, it's related to economics, meaning money, how much does it cost, emotion, how does it make me feel, and utility, how useful is it? And they trade off against each other. So the first step in developing a value proposition is thinking about the context, the landscape of what your product's up against. And so this lecture is going to focus on customer need and context. And the 5 things you look at in a landscape are called the 5 C's. And this is actually traditional marketing that still has relevance to what we do today. But a customer's need is defined by context. For example, you're not going to pay $50 for a bottle of water. On the other hand, if you're out in the middle of the desert and you don't have any water, you'll gladly pay $50 of water. And that's the difference in its context. Your value proposition is the reason why your customer is going to purchase your product. It's not always obvious because values can get confused, but 42% of startups end up failing due to making products that the market didn't want. And so the concepts is, what do I value? How do I measure it? And so the way I measure value is, does it bring gain into my life? Or does it reduce the bad stuff? So loss reduction. And how relevant is it to what I want to do? And finally, what is it that I have to measure in order to figure out what the value is? And so as we talked about, drivers are functional, psychological, and economic. As you can see, I changed the words a little bit. Functional can also be utility. Same thing. Psychological could be esteem or emotion. But the magnitude of each actually matters quite a bit. And so when we look at the magnitude of metrics, again, it's about gain, how much benefit do I have, reducing loss, or efficacy. And that means how effective is it? Does it align to what I actually needed to do? And so on one hand, as a customer, the thing we want to see in terms of magnitude is what kind of gain does it give me, the pains and job duties. And so as a marketer, what I have to do is create things that can produce gain or reduce pain relievers, and what products and services align to what it is you need to do. And that alignment is referred to as fit. How well do they fit together? And so what we're talking about is how much relevance is there. Now, of course, all of these fit under the larger category as, is it about utility, is it about emotion, so on. Now, if we want to get into more specifics, this is called the buyer utility matrix. And that's that these are the things that people value. And so you could look at the entire chain of activities and see what fits. In terms of parameters, we look at the product, what it offers us, the price. Access, is it easy for me to get to? Service. People won't buy a product unless it's supported in some way. And also the experience, the emotion it makes me feel. And so for those of you who are going into entrepreneurship, you're going to hear this a lot about pain. And the reason why is pain is about a need. And a need is always a lot easier to sell than a want. And this is why we look for it. So the things I'm looking at in terms of customer values is it large enough? And then the next step is, okay, there is value in this, but then the big issue is, can I make money? For example, you can come up with a cure for, say, epilepsy or something like that. And, gee, I want to make a solution that's worth $10. Well, there's only 40,000 people in the United States who have this problem. So are you really going to be able to make money at it? No, not really, because the expenses are really high.